in a moment and I forget to hit that button right there. And time has taught me no matter what, you hit that button, and after that, you just kind of let it fly. So that's where I'm at with it. And this is going to be viewed by people at various points. Guys, if you have questions and you're on this live chat, please feel free to unmute and ask your questions at any point in time. If you're not asking a question, I'm going to ask that you please mute your microphone because, like I said, this is a recorded session and people all over the United States are going to see this recording. So I just want to make sure one, the information is accurate, and two, nobody embarrasses themselves because it is going to be recorded. And if you say something that you don't want everybody to hear, then you might not want to say it because I know I'm not shy. I'm ready to answer for my maker for the things that I say, but not everybody has the same approach as me. So it's all good. So welcome to the session, guys. And I'm gonna go here and I'm going to actually do a quick screen share for you here. And let's go here. Let's hit the screen share. Let's do some minimizing and let's go some full screen here. And like I said, once again, guys, I'm going to be monitoring the airwaves as I'm doing this. So when I see people pop up, I'm going to let them in. But I am going to, it'll be, a smooth transition. Hopefully, you guys won't actually, see what I'm doing behind the scenes and I can keep the presentation going. First of all, anyone who has any questions for me at any point, here is my direct contact information. You guys are more than welcome to visit www.jjgrow.com and kind of take a look at my breadth of work, the things that I've been doing. You can also access my free Hemp 101 seminar there as well. And my email address is there. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. Let's get those questions answered. And if it's something that's extensive, we might need to talk consultation. But otherwise, it's just a quick one hitter here and there, not necessarily that big of a deal. So with that being said, in respect of starting on time, here we go. And I'm not going to go through all of these slides that are here, but like I said, if you guys have any questions at any point, please feel free to unmute live, ask your questions. Let's get them answered. Let's talk about these issues. That way you kind of know how to proceed moving forward. So with that said, here we go. So if someone were to visit my actual website, this is the home screen. These are the different, options that you have. And anyone wanting a full industry rundown, the one in the middle right there where it says Hemp 101, that's where you would click and it would go straight to a YouTube video and play about 2 hours worth of information from me covering the entire industry start to finish. You're also welcome to take a look at archive presentations. I am also the CEO of ActiveDutyRx.com. You'll hear more about that in a little bit, but you can access those products under the store section of my website as well. So, with that being said, here's where I truly feel we are in this space. It may sound cheesy, but I always start with this. In the times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to look after one another as if we were part of one single tribe. I sincerely feel that. A lot of people will say that it is one plant, and yes, it is one plant, but there are two different sides to what's going on, and possibly three, to what's about to happen and what's currently happening within this space. And people need a whole approach and not just the approach to it that benefits them financially. And that's been a problem that's been happening. And a lot of people have been giving out some disinformation. And I don't want people to continue to get disinformation. So I'm going to make sure I give a well-rounded perspective, give people some options moving forward, so that way they know exactly what to do and how to make things, jump, for their organizations. And with that being said, there's also another saying to keep in mind too, and I love this one. The toes you step on today might be connected to the foot in your ass tomorrow. Be kind and move with good intent. And a lot of people, they've made some decisions that are coming back to bite them right now, and they're not telling the whole truth about it. That's the problem within the space right now. They always say, if you can't shack up with the devil and expect God to pay your rent. Doesn't work like that. And those of you that are not religious, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to step on any toes, but just trying to, tell a little bit of truth. So with that said, I'm going to dive into a little bit of my background and then kind of proceed forward. with the things that I wanted people to make sure that they have the takeaways from how to proceed here. So normally when I do my entire Hemp 101 seminar, these are all the areas that I address, but we're not going to talk about all of that stuff today. I assure you, I've consolidated my slides a little bit to kind of, give a well-rounded perspective of the plant. And then after that, give you guys a strategy moving forward to where you can be safe in your space. If you're not wanting to shut down your CBD store, you want to proceed forward and you want to do it safely with credible products. I want to make sure I lay it out for you so you know exactly what to do moving forward immediately. And it only takes 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and you guys are good to go just like that. So, with that being said, here I am in all my glory. When I first joined the military, I joined the Air Force in July of 1995, straight out of high school. I started off in the military as a medical laboratory technician. And when I was putting this slide together, I always say, man, look at that, man. I'm the only ink spot on that whole sheet of paper. Ain't that a trip, But man, I had a great time joining as a military, as a medical laboratory technician starting out in my career. Then afterwards, I actually was a drill sergeant or a military training instructor for 5 of my 21 years in the military. Then I went back medical for 4 years. And then my last 6.5 years, I was actually a flight engineer on C-130 aircraft. So, that's what I did. That's how I finished up my career. My last 5 years, I actually deployed 3 times. Have met a lot of great people, did a lot of great things. Like I said, 5 years, deployed 3 times. And, shortly after that, I retired in 2016. So there's the day that I retired. There's a retirement photo. JJ is happy again, good to go. So afterwards, I started within this space, right? I started helping people put projects together. And in 2018, after doing 2 years of basically understudy or basically trying to figure things out in this space, I started JJ Grow Enterprises myself. And, I started going around, I started talking about the things that I learned from 2016 to 2018. And, fast forward time now, those talks are what become my Hemp 101 seminar that I travel around and actually teach now. I've actually had the privilege of teaching my seminar 3 times at Texas A&M College Station. They actually wrote me a letter of support for the seminar that I actually do because they see value in the information. So that was the first time I was at A&M, grew a little bit the second time, and then the last time that I was there, we did a hempcrete seminar. It was amazing, to have all those students and those young minds and captivate them. And that's my buddy Ray Catterley over there on the far right. He's a former president of the U.S. Hemp Building Association. We did a great seminar for them and did a live demonstration of how hempcrete actually works. I actually had the honor of teaching my seminar at the Comal County Bar Association in Texas. So I actually had about 15 lawyers showed up in courtroom number 2 of Comal County, Texas. And I actually taught a group of attorneys the difference between hemp and marijuana myself. Now, I did not go to jail that day. Okay. I did not end up in handcuffs. And once again, I was the only ink spot on that whole sheet of paper, man. Ain't that something, But great time. Like I said, I always have fun wherever I go. I always have a blast. And like I said, that was, literally in the courtroom, teaching, hemp and, marijuana or cannabis, to attorneys. I am actually the CEO of Active Duty RX as well. We all of our products are actually THC free. We have no detectable levels of THC in our products, and we put a lot of extra CBG in those products as well. You'll understand what that means in time. Like I said, I am the CEO. My chief medical officer is Dr. Tristan Lai. He is an anesthesiologist. He is the owner of the Pain and Wellness Institute of Texas, and he is my full-fledged business partner, along with a gentleman by the name of Ryan Early, in Active Duty RX. So that's our team. That's what we actually do. So I always talk about, and this is kind of transitioning to what I normally discuss, especially with what's happening right now with these THC bans that are going on, and different strokes, different folks, different states are doing different things right now. But if you're trying to remain compliant, with the times today, and you're someone who's a firefighter or first responder or military member or something like that, you don't want products that have THC in them. And over there on the far right in the circle there, it says on my label, third party tested, THC free and verified, meaning there are no detectable levels of THC in those products. And if those products that you're looking at purchasing do not have a QR code, which is the thing that's in the square there, the QR code, when you scan that, that should actually lead you to a piece of paperwork in this space that we actually call a COA. Okay. And a COA stands for Certificate of Analysis, where you can actually go and look at all the cannabinoids that are in a product and make sure, if you look down here, let's go put on my little drawing tool here. These are your different forms of THC right here. Okay. And if you see right here, the ND, that stands for non-detected. So when you're looking for products for yourself and you're trying to remain compliant, or you're a retailer, or you're a consumer, or you're someone who's in compliance, it's important that you know what the levels of THC are in a product before you recommend it to someone, before you consume it yourself. If you're someone who is subject to drug testing, or if you're on some type of cancer testing protocol and a physician doesn't want you on THC, well, it's real important that you know what you're, ingesting in your body prior to going to actually take a drug test. So that's how you read a COA, guys. That's what that's all about. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today. Man, this was a pivotal day. This gentleman here, Stephen Farrar, you can call him yourself at the clinic. He actually owns Premise Medical Center. Premise Medical Center is in the Fort Worth, Texas area, and I actually went and taught my seminar to him and his staff. And Premise Medical Center, for those that don't know, Premise Medical Center is a prominent. They do a lot of testing for Department of Transportation drivers, big companies like Hertz, Swift, Penske. They all go to these guys for drug testing to initially get screened and cleared before they start work, as well as returning to work. And I'm actually teaching my seminar to these guys. And Steve's like, man, yeah, this CBD stuff, it sounds great, but we wish our people could take it, but they can't. I'm like, why not? He said, well, they're gonna fail drug testing. I'm like, no, they won't. He said, yes, they will. I was like, you know what? I see what's going on. Not going to argue with you. Do me a favor. Just go get me a cup. Right. So I literally had them go get me a cup for giving a sample. And now, mind you, I had my own products in my system for 4.5 years straight at this point. And literally, I knew that when I walked in the door. So on the spot with no notice, I gave them a urinalysis as well as a hair follicle. Now they had to shave my armpits because I don't have enough hair on my freaking head, to give a hair follicle. But what I want to share with you are my personal results of the drug testing that was performed on me. So with that being said, on my hair, and I'm gonna, put my little annotation tool on here. So on my hair, they did something that's known as a 5 panel, where they tested for 5 analytes. And the 5 things that they tested for were right here. And one of the 5 was marijuana. Now, by definition, marijuana is anything over 0.3% Delta 9 THC. Okay. And as you can see here on my hair, my results were negative. Drugs detected, none. So therefore, like I said, I walked in randomly with my own products in my system for 4.5 years and randomly took a drug test, and I was clear and good to go. So if I can do that 4.5 years in, right? Yeah, I think my customers are good to go, and I know what I'm telling them, right? And this was my actual urinalysis test. And on the urine, they did what's known as a 10 panel, where they tested for the same 5 things, plus they added 5 more. But one of the 10 was actually, marijuana. And most of this stuff is out of your system within 72 hours of consumption. But, marijuana or THC, it lingers in fat cells, it lingers in fat tissue. So, if I would have had any THC in my system, it would have been, present, right? But my results were negative. Drugs detected, none as well. And I can't make this claim for anybody else's products, guys, but I will make that claim for Active Duty RX products all day long, because that is my product line. And I know that all of my products are THC free. No detectable levels, and people are good to go. People do not fail drug testing when it comes to being, on these products. And that's key and critical with these THC bans that are going on right now. So I also operate several groups on Facebook. I have one called Veterans Benefits Forum. This is for veterans, where I help veterans figure out certain things with the VA, where they can go and ask questions about, their VA benefits, or trying to figure out how to get started and established. That's what we do there as well. I am also partial owner of High Country Cannabis, which is a medical marijuana grow in the state of Oklahoma. So when I tell you I am not against THCA, like I straight up own part of a medical grow. Right. So if I own part of a medical grow, I'd be the biggest hypocrite in the world, for saying, no, THC is the devil. You guys, no, look, I'm over here and I'm over here because I'm smart enough to know that I need to be involved with both, and that the endocannabinoid system needs whole plant medicine in order to optimize properly, and we get the most benefit, from the plant. So that's our actual our grow room, right there. And I was actually owner or CEO of Veteran Scientific Laboratories, which was a cannabis testing laboratory in San Antonio, Texas. And it was registered with the DEA. Now we've since closed down because we kept it open for about a year, and after that year, there wasn't enough testing coming in to sustain our bills. So guess what? We had no choice. We had to shut it down. But there was our actual DEA license right there. You can see it for yourself. Go look it up if you want to. But like I said, I'm fully transparent, on my journey, and I am thankful for every experience that I've had, because all of my experiences have allowed me the ability to stand in front of you or anyone, attorneys, police officers, just whoever, and tell them whatever they need to know about this plant to feel comfortable where they're at on their journey. Okay. So I am thankful for every experience. They've all been great learning experiences, for me personally. So, with that being said, I know there's a lot of confusion out there in this space. And one of the biggest confusions that's out there is when people say the word hemp or they say the word marijuana, right? They don't know which one is which because they all think it's all weed, and it's not true. Okay. So, just like you see on the screen there, hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. Just like apples and oranges are both fruits, right? Just like a pit bull and a chihuahua are both dogs, right? So that's, the difference. And the only difference between hemp and marijuana is the amount of THC present in the plant. They look the same, they smell the same, they smoke the same. One of them gets you higher than the kite, the other one you can smoke a telephone pole of this crap and it won't do nothing to you, okay? So it just depends on the level of THC concentration. Now, if that THC concentration is greater than 0.3%, it is a marijuana plant, okay? But if it is less than 0.3%, we are talking hemp derived. And if it is hemp derived, okay, it is no longer a Schedule 1 narcotic, number one. And number two, it's also legal for interstate commerce in all of 50 states. Like, keep that in mind. Interstate commerce. That is going to be key for something that I tell you guys a little bit later on in this discussion. Okay. Interstate commerce, federal level, good to go. The feds own the highways. Please remember that. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's dive a little bit deeper. So, per the 2018 Federal Farm Bill, this is the definition of hemp. Hemp, the term hemp means the plant, cannabis sativa L, and any part of that plant, including the seeds thereof, all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts of isomers, whether growing or not, with a delta 9 THC concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. Okay. Now, this was a 2018 where a bunch of lawyers or attorneys got together and came up with a definition. A bunch of human beings came up with this definition. Okay, keep that in mind. They're not robots, they're not AI, they're not perfect people. You're not a perfect person if you're listening to the sound of my voice. Okay, so with that being said, when people, i.e., scientists, right, they saw this definition, man, they started licking their chops because some of them were like, shh, don't say nothing, let it go, shh, let them do it, right? And that's what they did, because what a lot of people did at this point in time, they focused in on something. They focused in on all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, and isomers, right? They focused in on this stuff. So basically, as long whatever derivative it is from a hemp plant, Okay, doesn't matter. As long as it's a derivative from the hemp plant per the farm bill, it's good to go. That's what they decided to focus on. Now, that part right there is what opened the door for what they call this loophole right now that's going on. Okay. And with this loophole that's going on, this allowed people to start playing with the science. Okay. And when they started playing with the science, what they did was they took things like CBD isolate, which has been isolated down to just the CBD molecule in its very pure form. Okay. And when you look at isolate, it looks like cocaine. It's a white powder. And if you see a brick of this stuff, it's like, roll, I'm in the wrong room, right? Those that have been around, like, nah, dude, I'm cool. I'm gonna stay right here, right? So, but this isolate, okay, they've been doing things. Now, mind you, okay, something like Delta 8 is naturally occurring in the plant, but in very minuscule trace amounts. Not enough to keep up with the demand for all of these products. Okay. So, what they started doing, they started taking legal hemp derived CBD isolate and they started adding stuff to it like hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, citric acid, and they started cooking it at X amount of hours at X amount of temperature, basically reverse engineering from a chemical composition standpoint, legal hemp derived CBD isolate to get it to the Delta 8 phase. But since it's a derivative and it came from hemp, they said good to go, right? And because they said good to go, and this is hemp derived, that's where Delta 8 came from. And people started going crazy, making all kind of money from Delta 8 and other, other synthetic cannabinoids. That's what happened. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I don't work for anybody. Like I don't. I'm just telling it like it is. At this point, when this started happening, in my personal opinion, the feds should have addressed this sooner. They should have revised the definition sooner, but they waited until people had made a whole lot of money and now they want to flip it and they want to say, no, that is not what we want. That is not what we wanted to do. Okay. And a lot of people are pissed about that. And because so many people are pissed, that's where you have all these problems in this space right now, where people are going to legislators, people are talking to the senators, the congressmen, and whatnot, because they do not want to see this go away because it's been their golden goose. And they are correct. A lot of people have been making a lot of money, and a lot of patients have been helped with things like this simply because they don't have access to medical marijuana in certain states. Now, okay, I said some chemicals. I said hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, citric acid. Those are the same things that they use to cook meth. Okay, so they're taking the same things that they use to cook meth and reverse engineer CBD isolate to get it to this phase. The problem is a lot of people have not ensured that all of those residual solvents have been extracted off of this material before they're turning it over to make products. And that causes problems, okay? It can make people sick. People can have a lot of health issues. So that's been the biggest problem and one of the reasons why they're trying to close this loophole. But the thing that nobody is talking about, which I wish more people would start talking about, okay, is the intent of hemp. Okay, hemp was not meant to get people high. When you go back and you read things like The Emperor Wears No Clothes, when you go back and look at just anything from back in the day, what happened back in the day with the war effort where they were growing hemp in the US, anything made out of paper, anything made out of plastic, they were using it for the war effort, ship sails, riggings. The first and second draft of the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper. Like hemp was not meant to get people high. And I don't care who argues with me about a definition. The intent of hemp was not to get people high or intoxicated. You played with the science. I get it. If you're smart enough to play with the science, you're also smart enough to leave it the hell alone. But you chose not to. Okay. And once again, you can only dance with the devil so many times before you get your toes stepped on. And that's what's starting to happen. So I'm not against these THC bans, but at the same time, I know the definition of what hemp was meant to be. Okay. And I know that a lot of people are out here not giving the entire narrative about this plant. Okay. They're lying on my plant. I don't like that. So that's why I'm here right now, is to just share some truth about, what's happening within this space based on the definition. Okay. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time going into depth like I normally do, talking about a lot of different things within this space. Unless if someone wants to unmute and talk about certain aspects, we can certainly do that. But I wanted to make sure you guys had that history. And when a lot of people think about, I will talk about this real quick. So at the federal level, they address Delta 9 THC. But shortly after the feds came out with their rules, the USD, I call them little Fed. Like there's big Fed and there's little Fed, right? The USDA came out with their interim guidance. And when the USDA came out with their interim rules or their interim guidance, one of the things that was mentioned in there, and this is the first time it was mentioned, okay, and this was back in 2019. They said samples, if you're taking samples from the plant that need to be tested, samples must be tested using post decarboxylation or other similarly reliable analytical methods, okay? Post decarboxylation is basically heating, setting the plant on fire. So, when you use post decarboxylation, basically when you set the plant on fire, you metabolize certain things. And so basically there is certain instrumentation out there that will set it on fire and post decarboxylate it before running it through the machine. Okay, that's called gas chromatography. Now, there's another one called HPLC, or high performance liquid chromatography, where nothing is set on fire. That plant is actually processed and ran through the testing machine in its natural form, in its natural content, the way it was supposed to be done. But they said here in their guidance that they gave people options. The USDA said, hey, when you need to be tested, right, you got to take post decarboxylation into account, or you can use another method, but you still have to take post decarboxylation into account. Now, this is the first time. The feds at the big Fed, right, Farm Bill, they did not mention post decarboxylation. The first time that it was mentioned was in the interim guidance with the USDA. Okay. Now, shortly after the USDA did that, here's the rub. Here's where it gets tricky. And this is what people ignored. Now, mind you, I've been talking about this crap since 2019. So when I tell you my soul is weary and tired from telling people this, it is. But this is the truth. So right after that guidance came out, the Honorable Sonny Perdue's office came out with a statement about what happened with the USDA guidance. And I want to draw your attention to the section that I've highlighted for you down here in red. So down here, they stated, instead of allowing similarly reliable non-decarboxylation tests to be used to measure Delta 9 THC, the interim final rules introduced a new requirement contrary to the specific language of the 2018 Farm Bill, that hemp samples must be tested using methods where THC concentration level reported accounts for the conversion of Delta 9 THC, or Delta 9 THCA, which is different from Delta 9 THC. I'll talk about that in a second. But Delta 9 THCA, the A stands for acid, into THC. Okay. It says here, as authors of the Farming Act of 2018, that was included in 2018 Farm Bill, we believe strongly that this is a complete reversal of the congressional intent expressed in law and requires testing that Congress specifically did not include. Okay. Requested fix. Given the 2018 Farm Bill specifically, and because it allows for the flexibility in testing methods by allowing other similarly reliable analytical methods, we encourage the USDA to allow testing for Delta 9 THC using methods that do not involve the application of heat or decarboxylation to remove all requirements for converting THCA to THC. Okay. Basically, they said that wasn't our intention, guys. I don't know why the hell y'all put that in there, but we're gonna CYA and make sure we tell everybody that was not our intent. But it did not come out when the final rules came out. Okay. But before we go into the final rules, let's talk about what's happened with this post decarboxylation. All right. So basically, when you first let's take light outside, okay? When light outside, if it was to rain and then the sun came right back out and you look off in the distance, okay, you see a rainbow. And we all know a rainbow is a full spectrum reflection of all the colors in the light prism. Your reds, your blues, your greens, your yellows. It's no different with the cannabis plant, guys. The oil that you first get out of that plant is what we call a full spectrum oil. So instead of reds, blues, greens, yellows, you'll have CBD, CBA, CBG, okay? And cannabinoids, different cannabinoids are good for alleviating certain conditions in the body, okay? And you also have different forms of THC as well. Now, the one the federal government is concerned about is Delta 9 THC, the one that I've highlighted in red there. Okay. If that one is greater than 0.3, we are talking wacky tobacco, marijuana. All right. But if that one is less than 0.3, we are talking something that is hemp derived. But check it out, guys. Right next to that, you have something called Delta 9 THCA. And I wish more people would start saying Delta 9 THCA instead of just THCA flower. Delta 9, okay? Because with that post decarboxylation verbiage that was introduced, see what happens when you set things on, when you set the plant on fire, the A stands for acid. And when you set it on fire, it actually metabolizes that acid. So basically, it converts over at that point to Delta 9 THC. Go figure, right? That's so people that are running around here literally selling THCA flower, you are selling weed that has not been set on fire yet. Understand that. And if you don't believe me, go research it. Go do your own research. I'm just telling you, that's what THCA flower is. So if you're going to use a name, use the entire name, Delta 9 THCA flower. That way people know exactly what you're talking about instead of just saying THCA flower. But I've digressed a little bit, but it's all good. Okay. So with that being said, they came out with their final rules from the USDA. And when the USDA came out with their final rules, there were some things that make you go, okay. And that's where they released the actual calculation. They started, see, when the USDA came out with their rules, they were the first ones who introduced something called total THC, which is different from Delta 9 THC. Now, me, I'm from Alabama. You tell me total THC, I'm thinking take everything that has THC in it, add it up, and it's got to be under 0.3. Wrong. Nope, that's not it. Okay. When it comes to total THC, there are two cannabinoids and only two cannabinoids that are involved with the equation for total THC. Okay. One of them is actually THCA. So you take the amount of THCA, you multiply it by 0.877, and then you turn around and add that to the Delta 9 THC. Okay. That's when they say total THC, you have to be under 0.3% for those two cannabinoids. Okay. So the Alabama common sense in me, okay, if THCA and Delta 9 THC are the only two cannabinoids that they're concerned with, why in the hell would you even do anything from a hemp standpoint with those two? Like, leave them alone. Pick some other ones. They started exploiting THCA flower, and that's part of the calculation for total THC. So to me, that's no number one right there, right? Military guy, 21 years. I'm not messing with that. If that's what's on the radar, I'm not going to mess with that. But there's another loophole that nobody talks about, and that's something else that has to be taken into account, okay? So when the plant is growing out of the ground, it's under the USDA and your ag department, okay? And they are concerned about this calculation that you're looking at right here, total THC. So as you're growing the plant out of the ground, you have to worry about total THC. THCA, multiply by 0.877, add it to Delta 9. But then the minute that you cut that plant and it's no longer growing out of the ground, authority shifts. It shifts over to dishes, Department of Safety Health Services. And when you look at what Dishes is looking for, Dishes is concerned about Delta 9 THC levels, not total THC levels. So because Dishes currently is concerned about Delta 9, and Delta 9 is not THCA, and it's not Delta 8 or THCO or THCV or any of these others. That's why people started going buck wild when it comes to selling THCA flower and Delta 8 products, because it's not Delta 9. Okay. And now, like I said, the feds have caught on, and they're trying to seal this gap, or they're trying to close this loophole prior to true hemp taking off, because of products like what I'm about to share with you and show you well right now. Okay. So there are products, like straight up great industrial products, that are out there. And this is the version of the plant that we're talking about when we're talking about true industrial hemp. For the most part, it grows 15 to 20 feet tall. Okay. And these are full grown men standing there with these tall plants, but they're able to actually take that plant, cut it down, and they actually, when you look at it from a side profile, the outer portion of that stalk is what we call bast fiber. Okay. And the inner portion is what we call hurd. Now, right here is a picture of the hurd separated from the bast fiber. And right here is a picture of them separated completely. But the thing about it, I'm not going to talk about the equipment and get into decortication equipment and all that stuff today. This talk is not for that. I'm literally setting you guys up really well to understand something. When we talk about the industrial uses of true industrial hemp, we're talking about it being used for rope. We're talking about it being used for fabric. Audi and BMW actually use it in their door panels right now. Okay. Harley Davidson has an EV bike where the panels, the front and back panels, those panels there in white, are made out of hemp plastic. Okay. Hempcrete, right? People are making houses out of hempcrete now. And hempcrete is mold resistant, pest resistant, fire retardant, and sequesters carbon from the environment. Okay. We need better sustaining building materials right now. Hempcrete was just approved last year in the IRC, in the building code here within the United States. So people are going to start using the industrial uses of this plant a whole lot more than they did in the past. And because they're going to start growing for so many industrial uses, you can't have something attached to that that's still getting people high. Okay, that's just the bottom line. And it's all called hemp, but people have been jacking with the science, and that's what makes it bad. And I have several projects that I've been involved with, and I'm not gonna, do all the talking about them. But one of the things that I want to show you guys, something that's pretty cool, that I just got some pictures of from a buddy of mine. Look, check it out, guys. This is hemp insulation. Okay, hemp insulation. That's better quality insulation, more sound resistant for your house. And they're starting to do hemp rebar now. And hemp rebar is a lot more, it has way more tensile strength than steel. Okay. They're starting to use rebar now, and you want to be able to associate something with these industrial uses that still gets people high. Come on, man. Like, seriously, like I said, I am not saying that there's not a place for things like Delta 8, THCO, Delta 10, all these other. I'm not saying there's not a place for them. There is a place, but we just can't call it hemp, because that was not the true intent of what hemp was supposed to be. And a lot of people are going to hate me. They're not going to like me for that statement. Like, I'll see people at conferences after this, they're like, JJ, you shouldn't have said that. Man, look, y'all, I'm concerned about my place with my maker. I'm not concerned about y'all and y'all stuff down here. I'm concerned about telling the truth and doing what's right. And once you give people all the knowledge, you let them make the decisions that are right, for them. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes and go over some true, facts about this plant. And I also, at the very, we got hemp wood. My buddy Greg Wilson, he actually owns the hemp wood factory in Murray, Kentucky. Okay. I actually bought hemp wood and put hemp wood. This is in my mama's living room right here in Mobile, Alabama. Okay. So when I tell you I believe in this plant, like I said, I am the CEO of a CBD brand myself. right? I own a cannabis testing laboratory. I'm partial owner of a medical grow, and I'm putting things like hemp wood in my mama's house. When I tell y'all I believe in this whole plant, I believe in this whole plant. But I want to make sure that the right message is put out so that people can start walking forward in truth instead of ignorance, just by someone feeding them the side of the narrative that fits what they want to do. That's not right. And that's all I'm saying, with the information that I put out. So there are many uses, and we can get into all of that stuff, and we can talk about a little Q&A. But what I wanted to leave you guys with is what JJ is doing to help retailers, himself. And what I am doing personally to help retailers myself is my affiliate program that I just launched. Okay. You can see it in my background here, as well. With my affiliate program, basically, like I said, I can't vouch for anybody's products other than my own. I will not vouch for anybody's products other than my own because I only know the quality of my stuff. But basically, with the affiliate program that we launched, basically, you can go to activedutyrx.com. It takes you 2 minutes to sign up. 2 minutes. Okay. And you can scan this QR code that's behind me right here, or those of you that need it right here, you can scan that QR code right now, if you want to. It takes 2 minutes to sign up, okay? And when you sign up for the affiliate program, basically you get a link that you own and you get a QR code that you own. I don't care where you post them. I don't care what you do with them. I'm just saying, don't make medical claims because y'all ain't getting me in trouble. You're going to get kicked out of the program. But basically, when people buy from your affiliate link, you yourself earn a 22% commission in honor of the 22 veterans that commit suicide in this country every day. That's why I launched this program, number one. And it just so happened that I had this idea around the time when all of this stuff was coming out with these THC bans. And the more I got to sleeping that night and the more I got to thinking about it, I'm like, man, this is actually perfect because, imagine that retailer, right? That retailer who has to remove. I see my buddy Theo Alexander out here. Theo, I'm gonna talk about you for a half a second, brother, just so you know how much I appreciate what you shared with me. Theo is a friend of mine. He's a military veteran as well. He was Navy, but I'm not gonna hold that against him. All right, but he lives in Hawaii. Okay, and back in 2000, I think it was 17 or 2018, in Hawaii, they were having a lot of the same issues that we are having now. And they literally pulled a lot of products off of store shelves there in Hawaii. But there was one product that remained on the shelves, and that was Active Duty RX. Because, like I said, all of our products, they're THC free. We put CBD, there's extra CBG in them as well. And for those of you that don't know, CBG, for the most part, is known as the mother molecule in the plant. Okay. And CBG has the ability to target some of the same receptors in the endocannabinoid system as THC, but without the psychoactive effect or the psychoactive component. So a lot of studies have been done on THC. A lot of studies have been done on CBD. Not too many are out there on CBG, and there's a lot of potential with CBG. So what we truly wanted to do, we wanted to make sure that we were helping people, and we want to continue to help people that are here, dealing with these THC bans in various states. Because if you are a retailer and you cannot have certain products in your store, you kind of have to read between the lines a little bit. You can't have products in your store because they'll come in and they'll do a raid. But what if you printed pieces of paper with all of our different products and you have those piece of papers sitting there on the counter, okay? And you have your QR code sitting right there. So anybody who comes in, they can ask you any question they want about any product, okay? And when they ask you any question about any product, you can answer those questions. That's not illegal to answer questions, right? You don't have any, what they're going to do, confiscate your pieces of paper, come in and rip them up, okay? But then, if people are ready to purchase, they can scan the QR code. You can email it to them. You can do whatever you want with it. And when they do that, you're going to get a 22% commission yourself when they make a purchase. Now, we are totally 100% responsible for facilitating these orders. And all I'm going to say is this. And like I said, I'm looking at this from a whole perspective and not just the state's perspective. Uh, you know, our orders are facilitated. We're headquartered in Oklahoma. So basically, if you're over the age of 21 and you go and you make a purchase, it's going to go to a website and it's going to get facilitated, in Oklahoma. They're going to put it in a box. Okay. They're going to put it in a box, and then they're going to have USPS or FedEx or somebody come. They're going to have a federal service come and pick your box up and put it on federal roads that are legal for interstate commerce and deliver that to your house. Okay. Now, a lot of people that are in the weed space, let's be real, people have been doing things with weed for a long time. They've been putting extra coffee grinds and extra things so that you can't smell it in boxes and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm not advocating for that. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is this: if that box opens in transit and it's one of my products and they go and test it, there are no detectable levels of THC in those products. So therefore, that is not federally illegal. It is still legal for interstate commerce, clear to proceed, where it's going. And that's a little bit, of a little bit of a gamble, but it's one that we're willing to take because we're concerned about helping people. We're not concerned necessarily about all this in between state rigmarole that's going on right now. But like I said, none of our products contain THC. They're primarily CBD, CBG, which if you look at what's happening a lot, what they're going to continue to allow, those are the types of products that they're continuing to allow, guys. So that's one reason, why we're doing that. And at the same time, too, some of you that are in these individual states right now, some of y'all are jumping up and down. Woohoo! Yeah, we vetoed this. I'm not going to mention any states, but there are a lot of people that are really happy right now about, certain things getting vetoed in their state. Okay, I get that. But do not lose sight of what's happening at the federal level right now. Because at the federal level, they're promoting and they're talking about doing a lot of the same things that the states were talking about with these THC bans. And I personally think that that is because they're realizing what's about to happen with building materials in the United States, how we're looking for better sustainable building materials. And hemp can facilitate a lot of that. And they can't have something skyrocket while people are still getting high off of, because of a definition. So, yeah, there has to be some type of lineation that takes place. And I sincerely hope that in due time it all gets figured out. But until it gets figured out, we got to find a way to continue to help people. We got to be that bridge. And like I said, CBG is non-intoxicating and it will do a lot of the same things that THC will do, but without getting you high. Okay. So I just wanted to take a little bit of time, come out here and give y'all this message and open the floor up for questions and answers as well, because I want everybody to have a chance to truly understand what's going on, and what they can do to continue to serve their communities until all of this stuff gets straightened out. Like, people do not need to hurt, people do not need to suffer, until things get figured out. We still got to continue to help people. So I hope this message, was good for you guys. And like I said, I wanted to make sure, I give anyone the opportunity. If you have any questions, please unmute and ask your questions, and we can talk about whatever it is you guys want to talk about.
Hey Jay, hey, thanks for the shout out, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
man.
you continue to stand this industry up, man. I definitely appreciate what you continue to do. The quality
Thank
service
you.
that you're providing, man, it's going to benefit us all when people really understand what you're saying. You're speaking the truth and you're walking the walk, man. So I appreciate it. And yeah, these products are still on the shelf, matter of fact.
Man, dude, hey, thank you so much for what, like I said, your story. Like, I'm telling you, when I heard your story about what you like, I mean, you were doing this before I was even involved with Active Duty RX,
Yeah.
So you're like, you're like the OG of this brand.
Hey,
So
I've watched it, man. I've
yeah.
watched the story unfold, man, and it's all truth. So, hey, I'm gonna keep riding with you, partner.
Hey, mad respect. I appreciate you. Hopefully, I've given you my full support, all the tools that are at my disposal, to help you out. Because
Yes,
like I said,
sir.
I truly want to make sure that people, are continuing to get, support. And a lot of people don't know, my father passed away from lung cancer, myself, when I was 20 years old and I had first joined the military. And there's no way in hell my father would be dead right now if I had have known back then what I know now. I would have fought so much harder. I would have gone and done so much more above and beyond because I just didn't know. I was a young man who had just joined the military. But because of my own personal travesties in my life, yeah, I'm gonna stand up real tall for you guys now, and I'm gonna make sure I continue to toe the line, and try to do what's right for all. So thank you so much. Look, I see Miss Iola out there. She always unmute. She always got something to say. What? Give her a couple seconds. Well, maybe she's busy doing something right now. Does anyone have any questions about the affiliate program and how that can benefit you moving forward? I see we have the Canamedic out here. How are you today? Oh, I see Miss Iola. She
I'm
unmuted.
good, brother.
Yeah,
I'm
I
good,
found.
brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, both y'all unmuted at the same time. It's
That's
okay. It's
okay.
all
Let
right.
them speak.
It's okay.
Hey, great information today. I mean, I hope people took notes. I mean, I've been in this space for a while. I even took some notes myself. So
Oh, wow.
I'm on my little 3 mile walk for today. But I got the
Stanley, is
Zoom
that
playing on my
you?
Bluetooth. Yes, this is me, my brother.
How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. I'm glad I was able to tune in today. This is some really good information, and this could potentially be the difference between somebody having a good business and somebody getting in trouble. So I definitely appreciate you giving out the real information.
Yeah, man, you are more than welcome, dude. And Stanley, you and Theo are Stanley. You were Navy also, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you and Theo are kind of kindred spirits. But hey, I appreciate y'all for your service, as well. And I will be I know you're in Georgia. For sure, I'm looking at being back there on the 27th of September. We're actually getting ready to host a big, convention, a health convention there in conjunction with Dr. Newton. He actually wrote a book on the endocannabinoid system, so we're, be on the lookout for that. Please come out. Please feel free to bring your people because it's going to be a great time there in the ATL area. So, Miss Stallings, how are you today?
I am doing well. Just a little trying to get everything together. I'm moving, whole 9 yards. But
All right, have you
I
already
am
moved? Have you already moved? Or are you still moving
well.
out?
I'm in Iowa, but I'm partially moved. I got some stuff here, and I still got a bunch of stuff still in Wisconsin. So it's coming. It's a slow
Okay.
process. My
Okay.
life has been moving all my life. But anyway, um, you always give me something because in terms of cannabis, I'm a newbie, but I love to go out there and grow. You know what I mean? Because it gives me it's exercise for my brain and my body.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I thank you for the information, and I'm gonna join this affiliate because I'm trying to figure out how to market and get rid of the stuff that I have that I know that is past all the tests. I need to figure that out. So if I can hook up with you and you give me that line, I'm
Oh,
ready.
absolutely. Yeah, you've
You
got you'll
know.
you'll you'll have access to the so a couple things. One,
Okay.
you'll so the minute that I see you've signed up, right? I'm gonna approve you. And like I said, I'm gonna be in my office here, for a few minutes still. It only takes
Okay.
2 minutes, right? So you go, you sign up, I'll approve it. But once I approve it, I'm also gonna give you access to a Dropbox folder that I created for all my rep. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go here and just let's go do a quick screen share. I'm just going to show you what you're going to actually have access to. And I'm going to, anyone who signs up for the affiliate program, guys, all of y'all will have access to this. Just I just want you to know, what you're going to have access to. So on Dropbox, I actually created a let's see, let's go here. Yeah, there. Let's get logged in there. Okay. On Dropbox, I actually created a folder for all of my affiliate people. Okay. And I call it my distributor package. So by having that, you go here, you go to comprehensive, so basically here, everything, like in terms of all of my products, you'll be able to print this off for yourself, or you'll have access to this information for yourself. You'll also have access, excuse me, ooh, to all of our artwork, as well, for these
Okay.
products. So that way, because I literally have a store here in Mobile, Alabama, where I'm at right now, a couple of locations here. that have signed up for the affiliate program, but they are scared shitless right now with the because Alabama is already, implementing the first part of this THC ban where you can't have any smokable or any vape. That took effect 1 July. But at the beginning of
Okay.
the year, that's when they're going forward with the rest of it. So, they're in a panic right now because they want to still continue to help people. And these are like health food stores, they want to continue to help people, but they don't want to get in any trouble, number one. And number
Well,
two,
yeah.
here in Alabama, they only want it sold at approved retailers and pharmacies. Okay.
Wow.
So that's where they want this stuff sold here in the state of Alabama. If things don't change, come
Mm.
1 January,
January.
people are really, freaking out about that because in order to be an approved retailer, it's like $1,000 to go and be approved as a retailer. And then on top of that, there's, like I said, which products are gonna, work and work well. But this is a way that, like I said, none of these products are federally illegal. They're legal for interstate commerce, and we're not doing anything with any intoxicating cannabinoids. So it very
Okay.
well could be a little bit of a gray area for those guys, but they're willing to print off the pieces of paper, and have those pieces of paper to answer questions, you know, and they don't have to buy any product.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for a while, that might not be a bad idea though, for safety, because I believe in safety first. But it's just I don't know.
Yep.
Make the rules, make a law down. They need to get rid. This has been going on way too long, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not gonna
Look,
get on my soapbox,
look,
but it's
I'll
outrageous.
say it. I wish they would just legalize weed and get it over with.
You
But
know what I mean?
that's just not where we're at. That's just not.
Yeah, I know. Make
You
it
know.
25 years. You got to be 25 years of age and even to qualify. You know what I mean? Make it higher than cigarette smoking and alcohol drinking. But make
Mhm.
it like to go on and do the thing. But that's all right. I'm gonna get off my box. Thank you, JJ, for all your information, and I will reach out to you later
Yes,
and
ma'am.
get the
Hey,
rest of that stuff done. Yes,
hey, do me a favor. Go ahead.
yes.
Look, if you need me to text you the link, I'm gonna text you the link right now. But
Okay, do that.
you go ahead and get signed up and you can figure
Okay,
the rest out later on because you're in the middle of
okay,
moving, and everything else. And I get that. But like I said, it's better for you to have this, link and your QR code. It's ready. It's better to have it readily available than to have to figure
okay.
it out when you're in a frantic. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, yep, yep.
So
And I may have to give you because I think I changed my number when I moved here too. So I don't know if I gave you that, but either way it goes, I'm gonna get the information to you, and you gonna give me what I need. Thank
okay.
you, sir.
I just sent a text to the number that
I
I
got it. I
okay.
got
Yep.
it. Yep, it's
Yep.
working.
Yep. You being recorded. So
Thank
don't
you.
don't put your number out there for everybody. This is recording. Don't put your number out there for everybody.
Thank you, JJ. Have a great one.
You're very welcome. So before we disconnect, guys, does anyone else have any questions or anything that we need to address? Going once, going twice. Well, once again, my name is James Johnson. Oh, Theo, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, man, take it
What's up?
easy out there, man. I'm looking forward to that. You said what was the date again for that conference you
The
guys gonna
one in
do?
Atlanta is the 27th of September.
In September.
I
Okay.
haven't even promoted it out there anywhere yet, but the 27th of September in ATL. Maybe you can come see Dr. Newton and get that personal autograph
Yeah, man.
copy of the book.
Keep me posted. Keep me posted on that, man. Cause shoot, I need the autograph, man, for sure. All right, Jay.
Yeah,
Hey, thanks, man. Enjoy the rest of
yeah,
your
no
weekend,
worries at
brother.
all. Y'all have
All right.
a happy belated 4th to everyone, and I hope all y'all got your fingers and toes still.
Take care. Bye bye.
All right, y'all take care. Bye bye.